Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We're here to cut through the noise and get straight to the insight. Today, we're taking a close look at a big name in gold, B2Gold.
Yeah, the main question we're tackling, pulling from, recent SEC filings, their Q2 results, analyst notes like Canaccord's, and it boils down to this. With all the latest data, is B2Gold actually a good buy right now?
It's definitely the right time to ask. B2Gold is showing some, incredible operational strength. Understanding their advantages, especially structurally, is key. And, they're heading into a really important period, the next 90 days or so, packed with potential catalysts.
Absolutely. And before we dig into those rock-solid fundamentals, just a quick reminder. If you find this analysis helpful for your own thinking, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your feedback really guides what we cover. And hey, if there's a specific company you want us to analyze in the future, just drop us a comment below. We do read them. Okay, let's get into it. We always start with the financials, the engine room, right? Looking at B2Gold's Q2 2025 results, well, the trend is definitely growth.
Revenue climbed to $461 million. That's a pretty decisive jump year over year from $411 million in Q2 2024. Good momentum there.
It is. And, for a miner, that top-line growth is great, but it's really the quality of the earnings that tells the story.
Exactly.
And the raw numbers, well, they back it up. Net income for shareholders went from $60 million a year ago up to $75 million this past quarter. But the real efficiency, the aha moment with B2Gold, it's not just sales, it's cost control. That's what makes them stand out.
Okay, tell us more about that structural cost advantage, because in gold mining, all-in sustaining costs, AISC, that's the make or break metric, isn't it?
Absolutely. It separates the winners from, everyone else. B2Gold reaffirmed their full-year 2025 production guidance is huge, 1.05 to 1.15 million ounces.
Wow.
That volume's impressive, sure, but the real edge is their expected AISC. They're projecting between $12,270 and $13,340 per ounce.
Okay, so put that in context for us. How does that stack up?
Well, think about this. The industry average now.
Right, so if we just kind of split the difference on their guidance, say $1,300 AISC, and gold's around, $2,000, they're looking at a $700 margin per ounce.
Exactly. While competitors might only be seeing $500, that extra $200 per ounce isn't just a slight advantage. It's a real competitive moat.
A moat, yeah.
It means B2Gold stays very profitable, generating strong free cash flow, even if the gold price takes a hit. That efficiency is like their built-in defense mechanism against price swings.
Okay, so that's a great operating foundation, but what about the balance sheet? Mining, it's capital intensive, often lots of debt involved. How's their financial safety net looking?
Oh, it's incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Like really strong. End of Q2 2025, they had a net cash position of $437 million. That's $708 million in cash versus only $271 million in total debt.
So more cash than debt.
Way more. It's the picture of a conservatively run, non-leveraged company.
And what does that mean in terms of leverage ratios? Capacity?
Their net debt to EBITDA ratio is, remarkably low. It's under 0.5x.
Under 0.5x.
Yeah. Here, just for context, in mining, lots of companies are okay operating at 1.5x, maybe even 2.0x. Staying below 0.5x gives B2Gold huge flexibility. They can weather downturns, fund big projects like Sequoia internally, maybe even look at M&A without needing expensive debt. Lots of options.
And that cash generation, it flows through to shareholders too, right? We saw, $98 million in free cash flow just in Q2?
$98 million, which easily supports their 0.8 annualized dividend. And that yield, by the way, is better than the average for their peers.
So summing up the financials, strong growth, check. Industry-leading costs, check. And a really clean, strong balance sheet, check.
The fundamentals are definitely providing the fuel, no doubt about it, which, leads us naturally to the next question. Is the market buying this story? How's the price action reflecting these strong numbers?
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting, especially for traders looking at the near term. Moving into the technical side. Since August, basically, the stock's been in a clear bullish trend.
Higher lows.
Consistently setting higher lows, yeah. That usually signals that, bigger buyers are stepping in on any dips, defending the price.
What about resistance levels? Anything significant broken recently?
That's the key thing here, psychologically, too. It just recently broke cleanly above the $5 level. And that $5 mark had been a ceiling, a major resistance point for, over a year.
Right. A break like that above a long-term level, it's not just a number. It's a signal, isn't it? It often triggers momentum traders, technical funds.
Exactly. It signals a shift in market conviction. So with this sustained momentum, what are we looking at for the next, say, 3 to 6 months? Any specific technical targets?
Well, the current forecasts, based on the models, suggest a likely trading range between roughly 4.95s on the low end that should be support now up towards $6.62 through December.
$6.62.
And technical projections are pointing towards upside targets more in the $7 zone for Q4. These aren't just wishful thinking. They align with typical post-breakout moves.
Okay. And we always like to check the moving averages to confirm the trend's health. Where's the stock sitting relative to those?
It's trading well above both key averages. The 50-day simple moving average is around $4.05, and the 200-day is down at $3.26.
So clearly above both.
Definitely. That's your classic sign of a sustained, healthy uptrend.
But is there a risk it's run up too fast? Are we looking maybe overbought, needing a breather?
That's always a fair question with momentum.
Yeah.
But if you look at the 14-day RSI, the Relative Strength Index, it's currently sitting around 44.7.
44.7. So not near overbought levels yet.
Not at all. Remember, 70 is usually considered overbought, 30 oversold. So 44.7 is squarely in neutral territory. It means there's actually plenty of room, healthy room, for more momentum to build as we get closer to those Q4 catalysts.
Okay.
Without necessarily triggering alarm bells about being technically exhausted, you know?
Got it. Ample room for more upside. And this technical strength, it seems like the institutions are backing it up too. You mentioned Canaccord reaffirming their buy rating after Q2.
Yes, exactly. And their reasoning ties right back to what we discussed first, the fundamentals. They specifically mentioned the company's impressive expansion and, importantly, the dividend reliability. They put a $7.75 price target on it.
$7.75, that's quite a bit higher than where it is now.
It is, and that kind of consistent analyst support. Plus, we're seeing signs of incremental institutional money flowing in. It suggests the smart money is quietly building positions. They seem confident in that low-cost safety net and the growth pipeline.
Right. And it seems retail sentiment is starting to align too, seeing more positive chatter online.
Yeah, definitely seeing that on forums, social media. People are pointing to that combination B2Gold offers, defensive value because of the low costs, plus that better than average dividend yield. So the consensus seems to be building.
Okay, the stage is set then. Solid foundation, technicals look good, sentiment's turning positive.
Precisely. So now we've got the foundation and the market conviction. Let's talk about the future. What's actually going to drive the price from this $5-ish range towards those $6, $7 targets? We need to look at the catalysts coming up, the roadmap ahead.
Right. Let's pivot to those operational milestones, especially the ones in the next, 90 days. The biggest recent news, the one that kind of boosted confidence back in August, was about Mali, wasn't it?
That's right. And it was a huge win, operationally speaking. B2Gold got the formal green light from the government of Mali to start underground mining at their main asset, the Fekola mine.
Why was that so significant?
Well, it secures stability, first off, and it opens up a major new channel for production growth, getting that stope ore. Plus, maybe just as importantly, it was seen as a positive sign that the government there is still willing to work within existing agreements, despite some political shifts.
Okay, so that approval's largely baked into the price now, presumably.
Well,
What are the forward-looking catalysts, the big ones between now and year-end that the market's really focused on?
okay, two key things to watch. First, the Q3 2025 earnings report. That's expected late October.
What are investors looking for there?
Obviously, continued year-over-year growth in revenue and profit. But more specifically, they'll want the first real glimpse of how that new Fekola underground operation is contributing. What are the costs looking like? How smoothly did they ramp it up?
Gotcha. First, look at the underground impact. And the second big one, you mentioned a critical regulatory decision.
Yes, this is potentially the biggest one in the near term. It's the decision on the Fekola Regional Exploitation Permit. That's expected sometime in early November.
Fekola Regional, why is that permit so critical?
It's huge. Approval could unlock substantial new production potential. We're talking possibly up to 180,000 ounces a year.
Whoa, okay. 180,000 ounces. Let's put that in perspective. Their total guidance is just over 1 million ounces, right?
Exactly. About 1.05 to 1.15 million.
Yeah.
So 180,000 ounces. That's like a potential 15% to 17% boost on top of their current guidance.
That's not small change.
Not at all. That's not incremental growth. That's potentially a re-rating event for the company's whole production profile. If they get that permit, that kind of growth, well, that's why that November decision is probably the single most watched catalyst for B2Gold investors right now.
Makes sense. Now, we should probably also touch on the speculative side. Strong company, good growth. That always starts rumors, doesn't it?
Always does. With that balance sheet and growth pipeline, yeah, there's definitely chatter about M&A. Could B2Gold buy up smaller players? Or could they become a target themselves for a gold major wanting their low-cost production? And there's also talk about maybe boosting the dividend even more, especially if that Fekola regional cash flow comes online as expected.
Right. But we need to stress these are just rumors, right? Unconfirmed market talk.
Absolutely. Pure speculation at this point, but it adds a little extra potential flavor to the story.
Okay. Now we have to balance all this good news. Let's talk risks. Being a low-cost producer is great, but operating in certain regions, that carries its own challenges.
It's the classic double-edged sword, isn't it? This brings us to, geopolitical risk. B2Gold's main operations are in places like West Africa, specifically Mali, and also the Philippines.
So that means exposure to what kinds of risks?
Political shifts, changes in regulations, maybe nationalism leading to higher costs or disruptions. It's a constant factor they have to manage.
And how are they managing it, particularly in Mali, given the recent political turbulence there?
Well, their approach seems pretty layered. First, they've been there a long time. They have established relationships. That probably helped get the underground permit approved. And recent reports suggest they got specific reassurance from the government about respecting the existing agreements at Fekola. That helps investor confidence. But look, the risk never goes away entirely. It's inherent in the location.
Okay. And then there's the obvious risk for any gold miner.
The gold price itself, commodity risk. Yeah, earnings are always sensitive to where gold is trading. If the price collapses, even the best miners feel it.
But that's where the low cost comes back in.
Exactly. That low AISC, the $12,270 to $1,340 range, that's their ultimate defense. They can withstand price drops that would absolutely crush higher cost producers. It gives them a massive buffer.
And the final risk ties back to the catalysts. Project risk, specifically that permit timing.
Yeah, that Fekola regional permit decision in November. If that gets delayed significantly, you'd almost certainly see the stock price react negatively and pretty quickly because it would directly hit their future growth forecasts, and it might make investors question management's ability to navigate the political side effectively. It's really the key swing factor right now.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. We've got accelerating revenue, great balance sheet, strong technical momentum confirmed by that breakout, and these really significant catalysts just around the corner.
Yeah, when you synthesize all that, the overall investment thesis looks, well, overwhelmingly bullish, I'd say. We'd rate B2Gold pretty highly, maybe an 8.5 out of 10 right now. The foundation's solid, costs are low, technicals show conviction, and you've got Q3 earnings and that huge Fekola regional decision coming up very soon, late October, early November. The potential for movement is definitely there.
So it sounds like it could appeal to different types of investors then.
I think so, yeah. It looks good for, say, tactical traders who want to play the momentum into those Q4 catalysts, maybe targeting that $6 to $7 zone. But it also works for long-term investors, people looking for structural growth, potential reserve increases, and a reliable dividend, knowing they've got that safety net of low costs underneath.
Great summary. Okay, before we wrap up, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. That Fekola regional permit decision we keep talking about. Think about it beyond just B2Gold's production numbers. It's being watched really closely by big international investors, even sovereign wealth funds, as a signal about regulatory and political stability in Mali.
Interesting angle.
Yeah, think about what a clean, timely approval might suggest about the overall environment for mining companies in West Africa. And conversely, what could a delay signal about broader regional risks and predictability? Something to chew on.
Definitely goes beyond just one stock's story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us for this analysis of B2Gold. We really appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back soon with another look at the markets.